time to look at the newspapers now. Erin Agunke is joining us, and she's starting here in France, in fact. The tense battle on the far right, this is you're talking about, isn't it, Erin? The elections, of course, coming up in April.
That's right, Stuart. The battle between Eric Zemmour and Marine Le Pen in particular. That's because over the weekend, two disillusioned former members of Marine Le Pen's National Rally Party defected and actually went on to join her rival, Eric Zemmour. Now, as Le Figaro points out, this came just ahead of one of Eric Zemmour's essential rallies in the southern French city of Cannes, which was aimed at building a united right-wing coalition. He, of course, hailed the decision of those two former Le Pen loyalists, saying that proved that they preferred to show loyalty to their country rather than their party. He's calling on others, especially people from the members of the Republican Party, to do the same. Mediapart, on that note, Stuart, focused on how Zemmour has indeed been able to unite a rather unexpected coalition of members of civil society. The Independent paper took a look at 1,000 of Zemmour's closest kind of VIP supporters. All of these people were present at the rally where Zemmour announced his presidency, so kind of early supporters. Now, analysis of that list reveals that these supporters largely reflect the upper middle class. They are highly educated, and 80% of them are men. Mediapart tells us that most of them come from the business and financial sectors, as well as from real estate, insurance, and the legal industries. The study, also surprising to me, Stuart, reveals that graduates of France's best schools, including Sciences Po, the Military Academy Saint-Cyr, and even foreign institutions like the London School of Economics or Columbia, Harvard, are overrepresented amongst his supporters. So again, very highly educated people. A lot of these people are indeed, of course, were disillusioned with the former National Rally or even Les Républicains.
Yeah, so where does this leave then Marine Le Pen, of course?
Well, that is what French paper Libération focused on this morning with its headline, Le Pen's window dressing campaign. It says that Zemmour's inflammatory kind of filterless rhetoric has largely overtaken coverage of Le Pen, at least for now. And this has allowed Le Pen to kind of position herself as a victim of Eric Zemmour's political maneuvering, especially because of those defections cited earlier. Libé says that over the weekend, she's in response kind of looked to soften her tone, essentially abandoning her prior plans to scrap dual citizenship, if elected. The paper nonetheless says, Stuart, that she obviously remains a threat, and she's essentially banking on high abstention rates among the right to eventually make it into the second round.
Now, the papers are also talking about Ukraine today, focusing on Western countries sending military aid and support to Ukraine.
Yes, that is the focus of El País, the Spanish paper, writing that the U.S., the U.K., and Baltic countries as well have approved the delivery of defensive military aid and weapons to Kiev, adding that Germany, however, blocked such efforts. Now, the Wall Street Journal, for its part, expands upon Germany's decision, explains it. They bring up a paradox. On the one hand, Germany is one of the largest arms exporters in the world. It sends weapons to places like Egypt or Pakistan, and they say that they don't want to arm Ukraine because of Germany's role in World War II and Nazi atrocities committed there, of course. The paper says, in reality, though, it's actually just because of Germany's reliance on Russian gas that's limited Europe's options in terms of having a kind of cohesive response in punishing Russia if they do invade Ukraine. The piece says that Germany is the biggest buyer of Russian gas in the world and is even more reliant on it because they're phasing out their coal and nuclear plants.
You found a piece as well, haven't you, about this is in the Financial Times, in fact, saying the Kremlin's recent activity into a wider context of a specific vision for the future.
That's right, Stuart. The British paper says that for both Russia and China, the Ukraine crisis is part of a greater effort to simply reduce American power and make the world safe for autocrats. The paper says that the two otherwise kind of unlikely allies are united by a belief that the U.S. is plotting to undermine or overthrow their governments. Now, they quote examples of Hong Kong, Belarus, Kazakhstan, where they accuse the U.S. of supporting anti-government protesters there. It says that this is kind of marking a shift from a unipolar U.S.-dominated world towards a more multipolar world. And for Moscow and Beijing, they want this kind of new multipolar world, which would be based on distinct spheres of influence that they are allowed to control.
And Erin is finishing today on the death of a fashion icon.
Yes, French fashion designer Thierry Mugler, who passed away at 73 years old on Sunday. The Rolling Stone describes his brand as, quote, synonymous with bold, rebellious style, dramatic pieces that reference everything from fine art and theater to architecture and androids. The magazine, unsurprisingly, Rolling Stone, of course, a music magazine, focused on his role in the music world then, saying that some of the biggest fans in the industry were always kind of clamoring for his statement-making pieces, among them, of course, David Bowie, Madonna, Diana Ross, and more recently Beyonce Stewart, who actually requested him as artistic director for her I Am World Tour in 2009, for which he actually conceptualized a whopping 58 outfits, which is kind of his own runway show of its own.
Very impressive. Yeah, the death of a fashion icon. Thanks
Big
so
loss.
much, Erin Agunkaya, there with the press review for us.